Let's take a look here at this progression stuff we talked about. So on your paper there, we got F major to G major. Let me turn my heater on. All right, F major to G major, and you got C as the key. C being the 1 chord, F being the 4 chord, and G being the 5 chord. That's right. There's no other thing it could be. That couldn't be within one key otherwise. After that, you've got F minor as a separate progression. You've got F minor, and then you have, is that G major, right? Okay, now what you've got here is you've got a whole step between a minor chord going to a major chord, right? Let's try the key of just G major, since that's what we've done before, and look for that, right? So here we've got our 1 chord, a whole step up to a 2 minor. Now a major going up a whole step to a minor, that's that. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a minor that goes up a whole step to a major. So after that, we've got the 2 chord to the 3 chords, minor to minor. Here we've got the 3 chord to the 4 chord. And that's minor to major, but it's only a half step away. So that's not it yet, right? We haven't found it. We haven't found a minor chord to a major chord a whole step away yet. Next we have the 4 to the 5, both major chords, whole step away. Then we have the 5 to the 6, which is major to minor, a whole step away. It's kind of like our first example. So that's not it yet. Next we have the 7 chord, which is a flat, minor 7, flat 5. Right? Going up a half step to a major chord. So actually F minor and G major, being that it's a minor chord going up a whole step to a major chord, is not in a key. Those are from 2 separate keys. If you had F sharp minor to G major, it's a minor chord going to a major chord by a half step. That only happened one time. It happens with a 3 chord going to the 4 chord. So G would be the 4 chord, right? And F sharp minor would be the 3 chord, which means that the 1 chord would be C. So actually F sharp minor to G major 7, sorry, yeah, that's still major 7, it'd still be true, but we're just doing triads. F sharp minor to G major would be the 3 chord and 4 chord in the key of C. Make sense? All right. Now the next one, F minor to G major, if the F minor 7 is a half diminished. Okay, so obviously this worked kind of from a premise that we've just debunked, the thing about the whole step between a minor chord going up to a major chord. So supposing it were F sharp minor going to G major, and that minor had a flat 5 in it, meaning like a diminished chord, or as you put half diminished, meaning it's a minor 7 chord with a flat 5, then that's being even more explicit. So if it's a half diminished chord, F sharp minor 7 flat 5 going to a G major, then it's in the key of G. That half diminished chord is really telling. There's only one place for a half diminished chord in a harmonized scale, similar to the dominant chord. There's only one dominant chord. Yeah, the 5 and then the 7 chord, which is a half diminished. So yep, that would if that were F sharp minor, that'd be the key of G. No other way around it. If it weren't half diminished, if it were just a diminished chord, if it were a diminished triad that was being used as a fully symmetrical, fully diminished chord, then it would be really tricky. You could see possible like a ton of options. We talked about that last time, but as you have written here, it's very explicit. So next you have C major to E minor. Is that right? Is that what I'm reading? So you say G major is the key. So G being the 1 chord, C being the 4 chord, and E minor being the 6 chord. That would be correct. But there's more possibilities, obviously. C major could be the 1 chord, and E minor would be the 3 chord. So you're right. G is a possibility. There's just another possibility. So it's just there was an option. Yeah. So next you have A major to B minor as like a 2-chord progression. You say A major is the key, A being the 1 chord, B minor being the 2. Yep, that's true. Now you have E major is like another option. You have E as the 1 chord, A as a 5 chord, and B minor as a 6 chord. When you do things like this, it'd be good to put the minor after that B just to be clear about it. And also, if you this very small thing, another small thing is instead of using like our numbers like 1, 5, and 6, if you use Roman numerals, what's kind of cool is you can use like big Roman numerals for major, and you could use little Roman numerals for minor. Like 6 would be a little v with an I that has a dot, as opposed to a big V I with the lines overlapping. Anyway, and that's another way you can kind of, but that's just a notation thing. It's not integral. It's not part of our concept here. It helps us understand it and stuff. But anyway, so E major as a choice. Well, let's see here. You have E as a 1 chord and A as a 5 chord. But A right, A is the 4 exactly. Now, in the letters there, you got E, A, and B. And then you have B as the 6 chord. All right. So, first of all, if A were the 4 chord, then B could be the 5th chord, the 5 chord of E, right? You'd have A as the 4 chord, B as the 5 chord, and E as the 1 chord. And so if you change the numbers on that from 156 to 145, you would be correct. You would have an E major. But there's another problem. B, and this kind of goes to what I was talking about being specific when you write it down. If it's minor, you write little mi or whatever after it. Because B is not actually a chord that we're choosing from in the first place, right? You have A major and B minor. So that means that if your progression read A, E, B minor, then it couldn't be 1, 4, 5 because the 5 isn't a minor chord. The 5 is a dominant or major triad, right? Yes, exactly. It should be D, A, B minor. And then and D would be the 1 chord, A would be the 5 chord, and B minor would be the 6 chord. But yeah, that is a possibility then. Cool. It's just how long it takes to think. It's really coming down to, is it something you thought about before? So it's not that you'll never have to think about it. It's just that it'll be something you thought of before, and then you'll remember the conclusions you came to, and instead of even thinking about it, you'll just kind of you'll recite the conclusion you've come to, which then of course illustrates how important it is that you come to the right conclusion. Otherwise, you'll be reciting the wrong information all the time, forever and ever. Which everyone probably does in some area of their life, and hopefully I don't do it in music because that's the only thing I feel like I know about. So we got to be on the watch.